Welcome back to Obsolete Automotive. I'm Austin, and today is just a short video on putting a hitch on my Shorty B van, 1985 model. It doesn't have one, so I bought a brand new hitch. It's a CURT brand hitch, and I'm just going to go through what it takes to put it on. So follow along if you need to put a hitch on your van. Things that you're going to need for this job: floor jack, ratchet wrenches, basic socket set, impact sockets, some extensions, and maybe if you need it, ratchet. And don't forget some penetrant, because some of these bolts are kind of rusty. Well, what you get is the hitch itself, a bag of hardware and instructions, and 2 brackets. So that's all that should be necessary to install this hitch on this van. I went ahead and grabbed my floor jack. Probably going to need one unless you have more than one person helping you. But seeing as how we're going to have to fish nuts and bolts and washers and such through the frame rails, having the jack is going to definitely help on this installation. Looking at the directions, looks pretty straightforward. We just got to feed these bolts and washers through the frame rail and then put the hitch up to the frame rail and put the nuts on. There's also the support brackets there on the front. There's some fish wire there to help in getting the bolts through. Now it says this should take 30 minutes to do. There's no drilling required. And this is for a 78 to 97 Dodge full-size van with no factory step bumper. So I'm guessing the factory step bumper probably has some stuff that interferes with this hitch. Looks pretty simple. So, instructions: locate the holes and the access hole at the bottom of each frame rail. Fish wire the carriage bolts and spacers up through the access hole, down into the holes in the frame. If the vehicle has a heat shield, remove 1 screw from the bottom of the frame rail so the bracket will sit flat on the bottom of the frame. Raise hitch into position. Torque all fasteners to 110 pounds-foot. 1993 and prior models install bumper with existing bumper attachment hardware. I don't think I need to take the bumper off this. So anyways, let's take a look and get started, I guess. Taking a look at the hitch here, there's gonna be 3 bolts going through it. This side has a cutout for the gas fill tube. Looks pretty straightforward. There's a hole there that lines up with this one, and there's 2 holes there that line up with these 2, and that's probably the bolt that needs to be removed off this shield so that this will sit flat. And that big square there is our access holes so that we can get our nuts, or bolts through the frame rail there. So this actually should be pretty easy. Let's take a look at the other side. Okay, the passenger side, it looks like it just has 2 bolts that correspond with the hole here and hole here. Okay. Guess they could have added another if they wanted. Have to make sure that all lines up, but I'm guessing it will. In case you're wondering, this is a CURT brand model 13041 hitch. It's made specifically for this van, and I chose this one because it's made in USA and supposedly would work perfectly with this tank. There's 2 different types of tanks. There's this larger plastic tank, and then there's a smaller capacity metal tank. So you want to make sure that the hitch you get will work with this tank. So what's going in the frame rail is this carriage bolt and this square, I guess you could call it a washer, and that'll sit in the frame rail. So we got to feed these through, 3 on this side, 2 on that side. The kit comes with several of these fish wires. You can see we got a end here that we will thread onto our bolts. Then we can use this wire, fish wire, to feed them through the frame rail. So we'll take the opposite end and feed that through the hole and pull the whole thing through. Feed the first one through. Show me. I'm going to go through the hole that the bolt needs to go through. We got to pull it towards this access hole in the back of the frame rail here. Okay, there's that. Now we'll thread our bolt and washer onto it, and then we can at least try to feed them through. Might work better this way. Put the flat in first, then we'll pull. Boom. Since that one's a little hard to get to, I'm just going to leave this one attached. The kit comes with several of these fish wires. I'm actually going to put it down through the hitch bracket. So let's do a couple more. And leaving them attached actually appears to be the way they want you to do it, because it comes with 5 of these, and there's 5 bolts that need to go through the frame. So it'll make it easy to line them up when you go to raise the hitch up into place. This one probably could have gotten by hand, but we got the tool, so why not use it? Alright, there's that one. 3 on this side done. Now we need to do the 2 on the other side. I just fed the ends through the hitch itself. That way we can keep all the bolts lined up. Same deal here on the passenger side. There we go. Got all the bolts through. That's all that's left to do for these is to raise this hitch up and put our nuts on the bottom side. I'm going to take loose the one bolt here on this shield. It's a 1/2 inch. With that out of the way, this should sit flat on there. All right, we got that raised up into place. Now I can remove the fish wires and put our nuts on. can see we've got all 3 nuts on. Let's go do the other side. This one's a tight fit. I just pulled that thing off. Don't really need it for the future. All right, we got them threaded. Now we just need to get the right size socket, get them tightened up. Next, we got these brackets, and one end goes here, and the other end with 2 holes connects to these factory brackets for the bumper. So we're gonna have to remove the bolts for the bumper, fit that up in there, tighten it back down with it hooked to the bracket here on the hitch. So we'll go ahead and do that on both sides. Opening the door to the van, you can get to these bumper bolts relatively easy. Use a ratchet wrench here to remove them. It is a 5/8. And we can loosen up the bottom one from the bottom side. honestly probably the hardest part. Not a lot of room to work back inside this bumper. In this bottom bolt, we got to have the wrench inside the bumper. Definitely going to want ratchet wrenches for this. All right, so these brackets that are supposed to go on the bumper brackets, the holes were not in the right spot. So maybe there's variations in the years. This is a 1985 van, so maybe it's different. I don't know. So I took my plasma cutter and just torched the holes a little bit elongated. I just needed a little bit in order to get them to fit. I will also say that how they have these oriented in the diagram, I probably wouldn't do it that way because it will not work, at least on this van. So it shows the curved part like this. At least on my van, it needs to be like that. So on the opposite side, instead of being like this, it would be like that. It is a tight fit in here. But it is doable. Thought I might have to take the bumper off, but looks like you can do it without doing that. Well, on the passenger side, when you put the bracket on, it doesn't quite line up with the hitch. So I'm gonna have to do a little more modification, I guess. All right, got this bracket tightened down. I would recommend getting this bolt started into the hitch because it has just enough wiggle room you can get it in, because this bracket almost does not line up. So put that on before you start trying to tighten stuff down. Got the hitch installed. All in all, wasn't too bad of a job. The hardest part, honestly, was getting these brackets for the bumpers that connect to the hitch modified and bolted on. There's not a lot of space working behind this bumper. It is doable though, as you can see. Another reason why I wanted to get a hitch on my van is you can see the gas tank there. This one's equipped with the larger capacity tank, and those are made out of plastic. I really don't want anything to happen to this tank, so this hitch will provide another layer of security, safety, or whatever you want to call it, to keep it from getting hit from the backside and broken. They do not reproduce the plastic tanks, so I don't want this tank to get damaged. I still need to figure out where I want to tie into the wiring in order to get a trailer plug, and I'll do that later on. I'll probably be able to just go inside the van here and figure out where the wires are running. I'm not sure if these vans had a harness back here for a trailer plug. I don't know if that was a thing in 1985 or not, but I guess I'll find out. Well, that was pretty much the gist of installing a hitch on one of these B vans. I had to do a little modifications, as I mentioned in the video earlier, to those brackets that go on the bumper. Otherwise, this thing pretty much bolted right up. And there may be differences in different years, and I don't even know if the wheelbases, if there's a longer one, if that makes a difference. But it was just a minor inconvenience having to modify those brackets. Otherwise, pretty easy. 30-minute install, maybe change to maybe an hour install. Basically having to figure out what I needed to do with those bumper brackets. So hopefully this is helpful to people that may want to put a hitch on their B van if they don't have one. And catch you on the next one.